Order.
Jat nuchit kat ginji kata ro genjit nicha llynagatal nicha gwynsi dienjit gutrit gugwatatsa genjit gwiji guts anyatsi. Ninechi gwehela kwa gwynjit gutrit gugwatatsa genjit aigehedia a nuji dakat. Nucha genjit nichinechi jet dienjit gwynsi lle gehidila genjit gwiji nuchit anyatsi. Ni ka gwynsi nucha kaik it guts tidida genjit gitinidiji. Nitsinetan dinji dathaka gutela genjit nuji dakat. Nuchek akwadat vuri jit. Nits at ginidijits at nuchek akwadat vuri jit hait nuji dinu. Amen.
Thank you. Be seated. I'd like to thank Eleanor Mitchell first for the opening prayer and reflections. Minister statement. Minister responsible for housing NWT.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ensuring the health and well-being of all residents in the Northwest Territories is an essential work of this government. The Northwest Territories is falling behind other jurisdictions when it comes to implementing healthy safeguards to limit smoking. Yukon implemented a smoking ban in public and government housing in 2012, and Nunavut followed suit in 2023. Now we must align with prevailing health advice and ensure safe, client-focused housing solutions. There is extensive research on the negative impacts of smoking and secondhand smoke on health and social outcomes. Smoking rates in the Northwest Territories are higher compared to the Canadian average, and by introducing this ban, we aim to create healthy living environments for all our residents, especially children, seniors, and those with respiratory conditions. This initiative aligns with the Department of Health and Social Services' public health concerns around smoking and shows our dedication to fostering safe and healthy communities for Northerners. During the development of Housing Northwest Territories Strategic Renewal in the 19th Legislative Assembly, Housing NWT consulted with Indigenous governments, elected representatives, local housing organizations and tenants about smoking in public housing units. There is a strong support for measures that protect non-smokers from secondhand smoke and broad support for efforts aimed at reducing smoking overall. It is the GNWT's responsibility to support individuals and families to stay healthy. It is our responsibility to reduce damage to units and loss of units as we are currently experiencing a housing crisis. Today, I am announcing a significant step forward. The implementation of a smoking ban across all Housing NWT owned and operated units, including market and public housing. Health and Social Services is working with Housing NWT to share resources and promote smoking cessation with Housing NWT tenants. We are here to support tenants as they move towards smoke-free living. Mr. Speaker, the smoking ban will be implemented in a way that is equitable, fair, and compassionate, with a constructive approach that focuses on education and tenant support. The ban is being approached in all phases and has started with new leases and renewals. The next policy stage will provide existing tenants with a grace period to adjust before the change is fully implemented. This policy is not just about prohibiting smoking. It is about promoting healthier lifestyles and creating supportive environments for people who wish to quit. The ban will also reduce risk of smoking-related fires and decrease the cost of cleaning and repairing smoke-damaged units. That means we will be able to put more resources towards other critical housing needs. Mr. Speaker, I am confident that this smoking ban will have a positive and lasting impact on our communities and that we can create healthy and vibrant living environments for Northerners. Koinaini, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Minister responsible for housing and NWT. Minister statements. Minister for Education, Culture and Employment.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to begin my statement in Dinji Jud Ginjik. Mr. Speaker, Jigagud Un Natan Hai 2024-2025 Ndu Gwyn Ya I Ginjit Judin E Kidinji Katak Ginjit Shogunjit Gagini Hi Tat Shogun Chu Gwa Gwatsi O Chit Trinin Sal Junior Kindergarten Gwijit High School Gwijit Get O Natan Nichi Gwijit Aurora College Go College Nordique Gutkit Gwijit Tak Gwichi La Gui Lat Ji Guga Ji Ginjit Yin Jit Gui Chida A Gwinchi Go I. Mr. Speaker, the Junior Kindergarten to Grade 12 Performance Measures Report will be published in the coming months. However, I wanted to take this opportunity to celebrate NWT student successes, both data-driven and anecdotal. School attendance is vital for student success, so I want to recognize École Boreale in Hay River. Out of all regional centres and small community schools, École Boreale had the highest average attendance rate at 91% in the last school year. I'd also like to recognize one of your schools, Louis Norwegian School in Jean Marie River, whose attendance increased by over 25% last year. Mr. Speaker, thank you, colleagues. That is absolutely commendable. Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate the 94 students who enrolled in the South Slaves Phoenix School last year. This is the highest number of Phoenix enrollments since we started tracking. The Phoenix program helps students complete their high school graduation through modularized learning on their own schedule, a flexible approach allowing them to meet their obligations at the same time, like family and work. At Chief Paul Nadici School in Sigachik, the school is celebrating the first graduates to complete grades 10 to grade 12 at home in their own community, while Mango Lilac students in Tuktoyaktuk are enjoying some of the newly renovated school facilities. At Helen Calvick School in Hulahuktuk, students took learning outside the classroom on a recent visit to Ottawa and the Canadian Parliament buildings, while students from East 3 Secondary visited London, England this past summer. At Tenino School in Fort Resolution, both graduates have already been accepted into post-secondary programs for next year, including Caleb Simon, who will enter the HVAC trades at NAIT, and Hannah Beck, who will attend Aurora College. Mr. Speaker, I also want to acknowledge Yellowknife High School students Stella Fairman and Audrey Debogorski, who recently received the prestigious Lauren Scholarship. Their applications stood out against candidates from across Canada, and they were among the 36 winners chosen from over 6,000 applicants. Stella and Audrey were chosen not only for their marks, but also character, commitment to service, and leadership. Mr. Speaker, our student success would not be possible without the support of dedicated and compassionate educators, school staff, and education leaders. Among the education leaders who have made a difference in the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of students was the former chair of the Clecho Community Services Agency, the late Ted Blondin. Mr. Blondin was dedicated to preserving and sharing elder stories and histories and helped negotiate impact and benefit agreements that provided scholarships, training, and employment to the Clecho people. Mr. Blondin also chaired the Arctic College and the Mine Training Society and was inducted into the Education Hall of Fame in 2015 for significant contribution to student learning by an elder. We will miss Ted Blondin and remember his legacy that will continue to inspire Northern education leaders for years to come. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to finish today in Dinjiju Gwinjik. Mr. Speaker, GDA Shirwit Sat Gwijit Hidada Gwinjit Da Jihe Dia GD. tak gwinjik tagwi ju that I kidin ji kat ginjit sho gotsan ga si tat judin gotsat tri jin jit tak gona tan tak gujit gitra tagwa ikat gwa sat trinjik kat gulak kat sak guje ku ha dak. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. Minister statements. Minister statements. Member statements. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we wind down session and ministers turn their attention to upcoming meetings in Ottawa, I want to emphasize the biggest gap I continue to see in our economic strategy: northern education and research. We don't yet have a cohesive economic vision, but just looking at our federal engagement strategy, it's clear that our strategy is heavily focused on road and power infrastructure. Those are undeniably important and very expensive projects, but as I've noted in numerous statements in the past, we also need to be looking at investing in our people, fostering research and innovation, and building up our workforce if we want an economic strategy that will benefit and fully realize the potential of our people. If we want to develop the North, we have to look at what we have to offer the world, Mr. Speaker. The Northwest Territories could position itself as a unique northern research and innovation hub. We are leaders in Indigenous governance, high-latitude mine development and remediation, Indigenous-led conservation, and permafrost and climate change research, to name just a few. We could be stronger leaders in those sectors and grow others which are completely undeveloped right now if we could just muster the vision and foresight to build up our education and research capacity to fully realize this potential. Looking at the recent throne speech, the new federal government sees the need for investment in research and innovation also. The Liberals have made promises with significant impact for universities, including a commitment of $2 billion for student and seniors housing, and to build Canada into the world's leading hub for science and innovation. The Liberals have promised to invest $100 million over 4 years to attract leading researchers who have had their funding cut by the U.S. government. Wouldn't it be incredible if we had the institution to attract some of those researchers to live in the Northwest Territories? To build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker, the federal government is working to identify and catalyze projects of national significance, projects that will connect Canada, that will deepen Canada's ties with the world and create high-paying jobs for generations. I strongly believe that one of those projects should be a university in the Northwest Territories. We owe it to the people of this great territory to show them that we believe in the potential they have to offer the world and invest in them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Frame Lake. Member statements. Member from Nunavut Boot Lake.
It's me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on March 3rd, 2025, I rose to give a statement on building codes, Mr. Speaker, or rather lack of a building code in the Northwest Territories. Mr. Speaker, all government buildings, as I understand, do adopt or abide by the National Standards Building Code, and that building code includes the electrical code, the plumbing code, the fire code, the energy code, as well, of course, as the Building Standards Code. Mr. Speaker, however, all other developments, there is no code whatsoever. And Mr. Speaker, we're the only jurisdiction in Canada without a Building Standards Code. At the time, the Minister said the Department was certainly willing to do this work. It would have to be done in conjunction with the Department of Municipal and Community Affairs. As it so happens, Mr. Speaker, now we have a Minister that has both departments under his preview, so certainly this work should be able to move forward even just a little quicker. I was also told by the Minister in March that there is a working group in place, and the next step is to really put in place some recommendations of what it will look like to bring all the different pieces together to have a consolidated framework from the National Building Code, and one that can be made in the North and applied for the North and relevant to the North, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister back in March had said she was committed to have a plan for a plan without a final date, but did commit to say that once we leave this Assembly, this 20th Assembly, we will have our own Building Standards Code. Mr. Speaker, I'll have questions for the Minister of Infrastructure later. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Manitoulin Lake. Member statements. Member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Glamour Alley is a recurring burlesque show produced by Tees Van Gams, 3 veteran performers of the Yellowknife's burlesque scene who want to make the art form more accessible to performers and audiences alike. Glamour Alley is a collaboration with The Underground, which is Yellowknife's newest music and performance venue, and its artist-in-residence, Thunder Norms, who hosts regular drag nights. They are doing amazing and important work building and promoting Yellowknife's up-and-coming drag scene. Mr. Speaker, Glamour Alley's 3rd show will be happening this Saturday, and I would invite you, but it's sold out. The next show will be July 4th and will feature 3 out-of-town performers who have sought to perform in our fair city, 2 of whom have never performed here in Yellowknife. They're coming from Whitehorse, Toronto, and Edmonton. Burlesque in Yellowknife is becoming a scene and getting national attention from performers and audiences alike. Of course, Tees Van Gams is only adding to and benefiting from all of the hard work that the burlesque community has done building this local scene. There's a shout out here for Burlesque, Boolesque, Parkas and Pasties, and Glam on the Rocks, who built a sustainable following for burlesque in Yellowknife and an impressive pool of talented performers. This wouldn't be possible without local businesses who support the scene by opening up their venues and the sellout audiences who will literally line up for hours to buy tickets. The art of tease is flourishing, and as a past performer, I couldn't be more proud. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Great Slave. Member statements. Member from the Sahtu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Education, promotion, Mr. Speaker. Labour, trades, professions, shortages continue in all sectors is a huge concern clear across our Canadian country. However, closer to home, the geography, cost of living, isolated inventory greatly adds to attracting staff in either the private or public services sector. Mr. Speaker, trade shortages, we are at a pivotal point. Drafting and essential planning in addressing the situation is fundamental and critical to our approach and the remaining term of this Assembly. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have tools in our toolbox. Examples could be the skills for success, career development staff. Allow us the opportunity to expand. Drafting a updated recruitment strategy tailored to our graduation community, including in-person engagements. Speak with the school graduates directly and provide a handout package identifying the trade's demand and career security. I'm told that JWT salary and benefits is very attractive. Mr. Speaker, it is a privilege to share the Sahtu will see 28 high school graduates this season, with a land claim recipient from Fort Good Hope graduating from the nursing college here tomorrow. These exceptional ceremonies is ideal for education, career, trades promotions. Let's design a meaningful campaign. Mussy, in closing, this is our last spring sitting, and I want to extend my great appreciation to all staff members, my colleagues, the strength behind our various governments, the interpretation staff. May you all have a safe and enjoyable spring. Mussy.
You're here. Thank you, member from the Sahtu. Member statements. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, summer's clearly here. I think it's 28 degrees outside, and it has been for the last couple of days. And I was enjoying the beautiful summer weather, and I thought to myself, for a moment, not think of anything other than how beautiful it was. Then I thought, oh, there's going to be forest fires. And sure enough, we see smoke rolling in over the capital today, over other parts of the territory as well. And I think many Northerners, and I've seen it on social media, people texting me or talking to me, that there's a lot of concern or people being reminded of the 2023 wildfire crisis, of the evacuations. And of course, the review that has just happened comes to mind about that, the after-action report. I think the starkest finding of that report was the loss of trust. And in the report itself, the recognition of loss that they were able to quantify through their reporting is really profound. and their finding of TSI's finding of a loss of trust in safety and security. The events have shaken the fundamental sense of security, leaving many uncertain about safety in their own lands. This loss of faith is a painful burden for a territory that has long found solace and strength in its connection to the land and each other. Mr. Speaker, from public trust erosion, trust and transparency to issues with being able to communicate to folks who are going through these crises. All these things have been shown in sharp relief, and that trust has still not been renewed. It's one of the priorities that I hope this Assembly would take up, and I think in a roundabout way, that's the work of any government to ensure their citizens trust them. But when we look to other professions and professionals and experts who we do trust, doctors, nurses, firefighters, police, people in authority figures who help us out when we need it the most, they're also telling us we need help. And we've seen, two pieces of legislation now coming forward to address those first responders. We see their concerns, we hear their concerns all the time that they're not getting enough support. And all of this is part of the same problem, which is this gap of trust that emerged, that has been building over time and was really broken during that evacuation. We need to do more, and we need to have a real effort to rebuild this, not just a set of responses to a report. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Member statements. Member from Mophie.
Merci, Mr. Speaker. Mophie Energy. Mr. Speaker, Wati, Bichako, Gamity, and Wigwati still rely heavily on diesel power. This is unsustainable. Mr. Speaker, we need to invest in clean energy like the Wati transmission line and the Laclamark mini hydro project. But, Mr. Speaker, my constituents are asking when will we see progress on these projects? Communities need answers, timelines, and new jobs. These projects are not just about energy. They will create working opportunities. Mr. Speaker, with the right approach, we can create local jobs and build capacity in our communities. I hope they will not whisper anymore over here. It's distracting. This can only happen if the GNWT is working in true partnership with Indigenous government. I recently spoke to a young apprentice from my riding who returned home after post-secondary training full of hope, who was enrolled in electrician program. He has the skills he needs, but no local job opportunities in his chosen trade. This young person will have to leave home on June 16 due to lack of options for his apprenticeship. That is a shame. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow our youth to be forced to earn a living elsewhere. Investing in clean energy projects and infrastructure here at home means creating good, sustainable jobs for our young people so they can build their futures and remain near their families, language, and culture.
Hear, hear.
This is why timely progress on the Wati transmission line and Laclamark mini hydro projects is so urgent. Is the GNWT working with the Klitschko government on energy planning? Are we creating opportunities for Klitschko citizens to be part of the outcome? Mr. Speaker, clean energy must go hand in hand with economic development. Our people want to work. They want to build a better future. I will have a question for the Minister of NTPC at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Mophie. Member statements. Member statements. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, next Thursday here at the Legislative Assembly, a completion ceremony will be held for those adult students who have completed programs at the Literacy Outreach Centre. Now, there were 39 students enrolled this past winter semester. It will be the 28th year that such a completion ceremony is held, but there's a danger it may be the last. The Literacy Outreach Centre was a partnership involving Aurora College and Inclusion NWT. Aurora College decided, for reasons that are hard to understand, to shut down the centre as part of its closure of community learning centres across the territory. In our winter sitting, the minister publicly committed in this House to provide during the spring sitting a critical path forward for community learning centres. I'm disappointed that that path hasn't been determined yet, even though today is the last day of session, and I'm disappointed that we haven't spoken much in our committees or in this House about this issue. It's easy to fall off the radar because adult learning and community-based literacy doesn't neatly fit into any of the government's boxes. When we talk about education, we usually think of the school system, college programs, or official credentials. When we talk about jobs or the economy, we think about mining development or maybe hiring and procurement policies. But we have a lot of adults in this territory who are missing some basic fundamental skills that are necessary for them to be successful in a job or a college program, not to mention being able to be self-sufficient in navigating everyday life, especially with this online world. We're talking about people who need to be fluent in reading and writing in any language, being able to make calculations and estimates with numbers, being comfortable on a computer, and being able to use the internet effectively. Even the younger generation, we often assume that at least they're computer literate. But it's worth remembering that being cell phone literate is not the same as computer literacy. And yet, Aurora College's plan to move forward with basic adult education is to switch to online learning. It defies logic, Mr. Speaker. I understand that more time is needed to find out what specific kinds of training opportunities are needed in each NWT community and to work out details about the best uses of individual buildings that Aurora College has vacated. But we still need to keep refocusing on how are we delivering the fundamentals in every community of language literacy, numeracy, and computer literacy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Yellowknife North. Member statements. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we had more session days, I would have liked to have used my time or opportunity to talk about NWT housing and how they could get behind the NUP renewal project, where they supply 125 residential affordable units to people desperate for affordable housing. They're doing it a low carbon update, and all it would take is some backing to support their initiative. And by the way, for the record, the deadline's tomorrow to get behind that for the minister. Mr. Speaker, if we had more time, I would like to talk about the health minister and how she could get behind Alzheimer's Alberta NWT, where they're connecting Northerners with solutions on trying to work through their problems at zero cost to this government, virtually that is, but with a little support and a relationship would go a long way. But only if I had more time, Mr. Speaker. If I had more time, Mr. Speaker, we'd be talking about, with the health minister, why in goodness sakes are we trying to act like Toronto, where we have health permits now required for community barbecues? I mean, my goodness, when we become Toronto, we've got some serious reflection to start considering. Mr. Speaker, with time ticking away, if I had more time, Mr. Speaker, I'd be talking about Avens and why the government continues to ignore the fact that it's subsidizing an NGO, an NGO is subsidizing the GNWT. Mr. Speaker, this squabbles all over emergency pay. It's not as if they bought cars and new paintings and yada, yada, yada. It's about giving danger pay for people who took care of 57 of our most vulnerable people. But if I had more time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I had more time in this session, I'd be talking about the envoy. Boy, I don't get tired of that. You know, the Premier's buddy appointed to a particular position for $440,000. But we're running out of time, Mr. Speaker, to talk about an employee who has been, former employee, who is then again a former employee and continued to be a former employee and then brought back for reasons unknown, Mr. Speaker. But we don't have enough time. Mr. Speaker, and lastly, if I had more session days, which I would certainly love, I'd like to spend some time again talking about housing issues, about the barrier-free need of housing in the NWT. Mr. Speaker, I think the LHOs, the local LHOs, should be the stewards of these. When we're investing millions of dollars, we want the right partners in place who can maintain, manage, and provide safe environments. Because the last thing we want to do is avoid another bailout or a crisis, especially when we can see one coming. But like I said, Mr. Speaker, if I had more time. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Member statements. Member from Trinidad-Willity.
Mr. Speaker, before we break for the summer, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and congratulate the high school graduates in my Trinidad-Willity riding, starting with Hannah Beck, Celeb Simon from Fort Resolution, Leona Lockhart from Tutsake, and at Kellerman Denny School in D-Low, I want to recognize Patricia Black, Quiddy, Tenda Bettina, Owen Charlo Zoe, and Lori Lee Stiepio. I also want to congratulate the Indigenous high school graduates here at both high schools in Yale, starting with Indigenous graduates from Sir John. Sarah Elizabeth Anderson, April Seti, Rihanna Balmer, Bayaka Bates, Keenigan, Logan Cardinal Sunshine, Kelly Korlowski, Miad Ann Dalkin, Kevin Football, Michelle Sarah Trace Gone, Brian Harris, Ashton Hutton, Grayston Klein, Haley Zoe Godson, Michaela Godson Lafferty, Ty Lewis, Madison Kelly, Sabet Lisk, Annika Major Gordon, Trishan Adden, Manico, Martin Crapo, Harley McKnight, Taylor Mishers Zab, Nico Morin, Kenneth Lance, Niali, Jocelyn Raddy, Jaden Regine, Charles Sahin, Megan Smallwood, and Nazi Headley Squirrel, Jake Steinwan, Rex Turner, Cyrus Lindsay Watton, Deacon Lewis Wedwin Jericon, and Tamara Grimard. And finally, the Indigenous graduates from St. Patrick High School, Dennis A. Dragis Yelly, Dexter Jericon, Joseph Fowler, Phoenix Erasmus, Sam Erasmus, Hannah Lafferty, and Thomas Labikan, Keisha Harris, Baptiste Meneza, Rylan Naskin, and Yakileah Grimolowski, and Florissa Watradi. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to acknowledge my wife, Alita Jericon, who just completed her Master of Education. Also, I want to end by thanking all the interpreters here today. I want to say Mussy, and for their hard work in preservation and promoting the North official languages, as well as my constituent assistant Taylor Brigado, Warren DeLorme, as well as extending a thank you to all of the support staff here who works every day keeping our assembly running. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Trinidad-Willity. Member statements. Member from Nuvik Twin Lakes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, June is the month of graduation in Inuvik. We'll be, when I get home, I'll be able to partake in the grade 12 graduation at East 3 Secondary, where we have a large graduating class, so I'd like to congratulate all of those grade 12 graduates. But we also have our kindergarten graduation, which is an amazing time for the littles to be able to celebrate them moving into their primary class. And one of the other graduating classes is the grade 6 graduation. In Inuvik, we have always historically had our elementary school and our high school. So grade 6 graduation has become this elaborate graduation, which they well earn because they get to cross through those big double doors and become high school students. In most places, they'd become middle school students. But when in Inuvik, they get to go over to the big school. And I would like to congratulate them all. I would also like to congratulate our post-secondary students that are coming out of colleges and universities and programs throughout Canada that are returning home. And I encourage education is the way that we're going to move forward to be stronger in the Northwest Territories. And I'd like to put a shout out to a few of the local graduate nurses that are now coming home to Inuvik, and it's very exciting to see more and more of you coming into the healthcare system. I'd also like to say to all my colleagues here, enjoy your summer. It's a lot of time to go and spend with constituents, with family. Although we continue to work every day, it seems like that when you're out, make sure you're staying safe. A lot of people will go out on the boats this is near and dear to my family, is to be safe, wear your life jackets, make sure you're practicing safe practices out on the land, and I look forward to seeing everybody come back here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Nuvik Twin Lakes. Member statements. Member from Nunavut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I rise to commend the high school graduates of 2025 in the Nunavut riding. These young people have persevered over the last 12 years to complete their high school curriculum. Although this is the end of their high school, hopefully this is not the end of their educational journey, as it is my hope and the hope of many that our people lead in all aspects of our communities, our organizations, whatever they dream to be, including nursing, teaching, local administration, and accounting. We also need tradespeople to build and maintain our home and infrastructure. We need everyone protecting our people, the land, and water. This is my hope, Mr. Speaker. I congratulate from Angik School in Polituck, Cassius Green, Misty Wolke Rubin, Chase Wolke. From Helen Kalvik Ilihakbek in school in Ulhaktuk, Kaya Eholuk, Alicia Irish Memogana, Kier Ann Joss, Thomas Kimiksana, Krista Kidikudluk, Allison Kunuluk, Angela Kuptana, Lola Nigiok, and Mary Ulifi. From Mangalaluk School in Tuktoyaktuk, Melinda Elias, Kira Cockney, Alicia Felix, Isaiah Grubin, Joby Lundragan, Mickey Grubin, Saula Kuaksak Radi, Dominic Kimiksana. And to add, thank you to the parents, families, and teachers for your support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Nunavut. Member statements. Good. Colleagues, it is that time of year where I get to celebrate the grade 12 graduations of students from Litico Regional High School in Fort Simpson and Echo Denny School in Fort Liard. It is a time we get to honor just not the academic achievements of these remarkable young individuals, but also the resilience and determination that they have demonstrated throughout their educational journey. This milestone marks the accumulation of years of hard work, dedication, and personal growth, and is a momentous occasion for the entire community. Graduation is more than just a ceremony. It's a rite of passage. It signifies the transition from adolescence to adulthood. For those students, it represents the countless hours spent studying, the friendships formed, and the challenges overcome. Many have navigated unique cultural landscapes, drawn strength from their heritage while embracing new ideas and experiences. This blend of tradition and innovation is a statement to their character and the diverse backgrounds that enrich our communities. As they step into the next chapter of their lives, whether pursuing further education, entering the workforce, or exploring new opportunities, these graduates carry with them not only their academic knowledge, but also the values instilled by their families and educators. They are equipped to face the world with confidence, creativity, and a sense of responsibility. Let us celebrate their achievements, support their aspirations, look forward to the contribution they will make as they embark on their journey. The future is bright for these graduates, and their potential is limitless. Today, I would like to recognize students who have completed their elementary, junior, and senior high school journey. Two of the 3 students from Echo Denny School and the 4 students from Litico Regional High School. Congratulations on completing this journey. A good start on your life's journey. I know there has been some fun and challenging times, but I can tell you it has prepared you for the next step in your life, whether it is going on to further schooling, trades, travel, or work. As I've done in the past, I have a few words of encouragement and a list of grads which I will ask to be deemed as read and printed in the handskirts. To the parents, families, and teachers, thank you for all the support for those graduates. You should be happy and proud of your child today. In closing, I'd like to wish all the 2025 graduating class across the NWT all the best and congratulations on a job well done. Member statements. Member from Tabacha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that I rise in this House today to pay tribute to a friend, a respected educator, and a cherished member of our community, Ron Holtorf. Ron passed away peacefully on March 15, 2025 at St. Joseph's Auxiliary Hospital in Edmonton, Alberta. Ron was a devoted husband to Donetta, a loving father to Roger, Jolynn, and Richard, and a proud grandfather to Caitlin and Eric. He also leaves behind his sister Elizabeth and many dear friends. He was preceded by his parents, Jack and Helen, and his beloved grandson, Christian. Mr. Speaker, Ron was born in Kenora, Ontario, but it was the Northwest Territories he chose as his home, arriving in 1953. In Fort Smith, he built a life rooted in love, service, and community. It was there that he met Donetta, and together they shared 51 years of marriage, years filled with laughter, mutual respect, and unwavering support for each other. Ron was a passionate educator and a lifelong learner. He began his career as a teacher and later took on a leadership role at Aurora College, where he eventually retired as president. His impact on Northern education was profound, and his commitment to student success touched countless lives. He also served our community with distinction as a town councillor and volunteer. Ron believed deeply in giving back, whether through public service, mentorship, or simply offering a kind word. He had a sharp wit, a generous spirit, and a kind love for the land and the people of the North. Even after the 2023 evacuation from Fort Smith due to the wildfire, Ron's heart never left the North. Although illness prevented his return, he worked hard to regain his strength at St. Joe's in hopes of coming home, a testament to his strength and resilience. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the many healthcare workers, friends, and family members who stood by Ron through his final journey. In his memory, the family has asked that donations be made to your local food bank, a cause that was close to Ron's heart. On a personal note, Mr. Speaker, I would like to express my gratitude for the role Ron and Donetta unknowingly played in my own life. My wife, Karen, first came to Fort Smith with her friend Shannon, a niece of Ron and Donetta, and it was through that visit that Karen and I met. For that, and for so much more, I will always be thankful. Ron's legacy will live on in the community he helped shape and in the lives he touched so deeply. We all miss him dearly as a friend, a mentor, and a true Northerner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Tabacha. Our condolences go out to the family and friends. Member statements. Member statements. Motions. Member from Yellowknife North.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Tabacha, that notwithstanding Rule 2.1, when the House adjourns on Thursday, May 29, 2025, it shall be adjourned until Thursday, October 16, 2025. And further, that any time prior to October 16, 2025, if the Speaker is satisfied after consultation with the Executive Council and members of the Legislative Assembly that the public interest requires that the House should meet at an earlier or later time during the adjournment, the Speaker may give notice. And thereupon the House shall meet at the time stated in such notice and shall transact its business as it has been duly adjourned to that time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Yellowknife North. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Motions. Motions. Returns to oral questions. Returns to oral questions. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ever so briefly, I want to recognize and acknowledge all the incredible interpreters we have here. I would certainly say to some degree they are all my favorites. However, Mr. Speaker, I have one favorite who's just a little more favorite, and that happens to be Miss Sarah Cleary. She's here and she interprets Dene Kade, and I'm certainly grateful to call her a friend as well as a constituent, and I appreciate the hard work she does here every day we sit. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Yonge Centre. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Inuvik Boot Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy today to recognize Inuvik Boot Lake Constituency Assistant, Ms. Sheila Nasagalawak, here today. Her advocacy and her certainly her passion and hard work for our constituents is invaluable for the work that we do up there, and I would not be able to do my job without her. Thank you.
Recognition visitors in the gallery. Member from Hopefully.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, dulhits at inawo gorata geti zuguga gekwe I masigisi. Clinchura taget clinchura atati dungile zuguga gekwe Jonas Lafferty. It's a Maro Sunbird. It's a what I hazia let's wagin tehi hingoga gekwe tageti gile. Did you Goyatik a get hunte, eat a massy depot. It got on hunty zungohen, a lucky de, neat like a get dig. Git lahani, whozik, koheko, he massy geese. It's a hunt, it's a great a crayon, a go coats and that's at their hunter. Hut eats at the go nuts in the nuts in the good yes again telegai here such in tele gets on that in Denny the massits in one hunter in beckets on a whole wouldn't at that hat on in the Zukan at Zunats at their hunter. Massy, that's I'm done.
Thank you. Member from Mophie. Thank you. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to take the time to recognize two of our pages that have been with us and working hard all week that are Yellowknife North constituents. We have Saul Young and Ace Wickens, who are both from Willie McDonald School. So thank you, and thanks to all the pages for all of your help and patience with us this week. Masicho.
Thank you, member from Yellowknife North. Member, recognition of visitors to the gallery. Member from Tabacha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to also thank the pages for the tremendous work they've done this week. And I'd like to recognize the pages from PWK High School in Fort Smith, Ellie McDonald JQ, Kyla McDonald Schwarzenberger, Paisley Jones, and their chaperone, Jana JQ. I'd also like to recognize Agata Gutuska, or Aggie as she's known. My MSA will be leaving this week, is her last week, on to a new adventure. And I just wanted to thank her for all the tremendous work that she's done for me and everyone in the Northwest Territories. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Tabacha. Colleagues, recognition of visitors in the gallery. Please focus on that. Thank you. Member from recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to recognize a visitor in the gallery who's right behind me. That's Christian Bitroff. He's the president of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2890. Thank you for being here today, Christian.
They're here.
Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. If we missed anyone in the gallery today, welcome to your chambers. I hope you are enjoying the proceedings. It is always nice to see people in the gallery and allowing us to be representative for you here, representing the people. Acknowledgements. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to acknowledge the staff and students of École Alain Saint-Cyr on the 35th anniversary of this important Frame Lake institution. The NWT's French First Language School got its humble beginning in 1989 with a single class in a portable classroom at École's J.H. Sissons on the initiative of passionate Francophone parents. 35 years later, the school has grown considerably. It has its own building on Taylor Road now and is home to more than 200 French first language students from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. A ceremony celebrating the milestone was held last week at the school where a time capsule was opened. I want to extend my congratulations to Yellowknife's francophone community. Toutes mes félicitations à École Alain Saint-Cyr. Merci, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Frame Lake. Recognition of visitors in gallery. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Oral questions. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in an unusual circumstance here, I gave the minister a heads up on this particular one, so the Minister of Housing won't be surprised on my question, because it's so important we can't miss this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the question is about helping Northern United Place on their renewal project. They have obtained loans and processes all on their own, and all they require is housing to support them as a backstop to help underwrite the loans, the $1 million of loans that they are potentially receiving. So, Mr. Speaker, would the minister direct your department before the May 30th deadline lapses and they miss this energy efficient renewal project? Thank you.
Thank you. Member from Yellowknife Centre. Minister responsible for housing and NWT.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. Yes, this is a great project. Excited to hear all the good work that the NWT Community Services Corporation has done, and the exciting work around the rehabilitation of Northern United Place with the renovation project. Housing NWT at this time is still working on a response, Mr. Speaker, and I'm hoping to have something today or tomorrow with a response to the NWT Community Services Corporation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Responsible housing and NWT. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At first, it may appear like a layout of cash, but it's not. It's just a guarantee, and the GNWT will get its money back because this is a 50-year organization that has proven to work. Mr. Speaker, what communication has the minister, through her department, obviously, had with the Yellowknife Community Association in the context of NUP about what they're doing and how they're trying to meet their deadline of tomorrow, May 30th? Thank you.
Centre. Minister responsible for housing and NWT.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, housing NWT, we cannot guarantee anything. This is a financial management board decision because we can't continue to take on debt. It reduces the borrowing capacity of the government Northwest Territories. Internal discussions right now with the Community Services Corporation and Housing NWT. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for housing NWT. Final supplementary. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to freshen up the memory of this particular house, housing was supported through a move forward on $41.6 million, Mr. Speaker. Ooh, that's a lot of money. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking, is there any way to tap into that financial opportunity temporarily to support this multi-million-dollar initiative? They've got all on their own, and they're going to pay for it all on their own. And Mr. Speaker, lastly, they've done this for 50 years without interruption, and they've served this community well. Can the minister find a way to make this happen? Thank you.
From Yellowknife Centre. Minister responsible for housing NWT.
Mr. Speaker, again, thank you to the member for the emphasis on how important this project is, especially for downtown Yellowknife, affordable housing, Aurora College students. This is really important that we provide a place, and the renovation project sounds like a great renovation project and some good work by the NWT Community Services Corporation. We're looking at the community housing initiative funding and seeing if there's any opportunity to provide some funds through the Community Housing Initiative Fund to the NWT Community Services Corporation. So again, these are internal discussions, and I'm pressing Housing NWT for a response. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for housing NWT. Oral questions. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had a young constituent of mine reach out to talk to me about AI technologies and how they're changing the world as increasingly becoming the norm in industries from coffee shops to the highest levels of the military. So my question is for the minister responsible for the public service. What policies are currently in place to govern the use of AI technology in the GNWT? Thank you.
Member from Range Lake, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the use of artificial intelligence obviously is a new area. It certainly is one that we are looking to provide better guidance to our staff on. So what we've done thus far, we've looked to what the Government of Canada is doing. We've also looked at what the Government of British Columbia is doing, and that is likely to be where we'll find the most alignment that can help us move this forward a little faster. And with that, we will be able to produce our own guidelines for the use of generative artificial intelligence, which I expect that and then training associated to be ready for staff in the very near future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Finance, member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would appreciate knowing a clear timeline on that. Are we looking at the end of term or next year or something like that? Because this technology is moving fast every day, and faster still. It's learning a lot. So when can we expect to see those new policies come in place? Thank you.
When?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that this work is well underway. I don't have the timeline in front of me, but it certainly will be this government, and I would say really not the end of the government, but fairly soon. So I'll certainly happily commit to get that timeline back to the member. It is an area where we want to ensure that people are able to use this. It can be an opportunity for efficiency, creativity, but it needs to be used responsibly, and it needs to have human oversight to make sure that we remain, obviously transparent in what we're doing. So happy to provide that date as soon as I can. Thank you.
Finance. Final supplementary. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you could use AI to write your own policies, but let's not do that. Mr. Speaker, there's also other AI technology we could use to better manage our energy systems, our emergency management systems, and a host of other things to improve that. Is this policy also going to cover the use of those technologies that can be procured for other public policy purposes? Thank you.
Range Lake, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this point, Mr. Speaker, looking at using AI technology in areas of infrastructure and actually replacing different infrastructure systems is beyond what I'm speaking to here. What I'm looking at here is how the public service is using AI really more in day-to-day functions. So again, don't want to be over-promising in terms of what it is, but it's really meant to be guidance for the public service and how we use it in a public service context, and not necessarily when it comes to, for example, battery systems. Certainly open to having an opportunity to look at those as well. I think we've answered questions here in the House, but this is really focused on the public service who are delivering functions to the public, policy generation, for example, not necessarily replacing infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Finance. Oral questions. Member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Premier's sessional statement highlighted facilities-based addictions treatment and dedicated aftercare. So my questions today are for the Minister for Health and Social Services. The Minister knows that I have had constituents who have required to go to facilities out down south, and it's a very convoluted and complicated process, and public-facing information is limited. So, Mr. Speaker, can the Minister tell me what she is doing to improve pathfinding for addictions treatment in other territories for the people of the NWT? Thank you.
Member from Great Slave. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the question, and I received BFs on this, and so one of the things that I've asked my department to do is to look at the front-facing. A lot of times when people are looking, we tend to search online, and so that was the first thing that we look at is how do we find what we service providers are offering. And it is very difficult on our website to find facility-based addiction treatment and how to access it. So that is one of the directions that I've given to the department. But what I would like to say is that every one of our communities has access to the community counseling program, and that would be the first step to doing that. And if you're living in a health center, in a community with a health center, then it would be the health center that you contact. I've asked the department to try and to be able to do this and make this information a lot more clear for people that are needing this service, and I appreciate the questions, because I think when we have somebody who is struggling through addictions or through this type, they may struggle to just try to find the energy to find the services, and so we have to make it as easy as possible. So that is what I've given as the direction to my department to look into. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Of Health and Social Services. Member from Great Slave.
Speaker, and thank you for the Minister for her compassion on this issue. One thing that I heard from my constituent specifically who was dealing with this in December of last year was the inability to secure a case manager in time for their family member to receive a path forward expediently to treatment. So can the Minister please tell me what the quickest way to connect with a case manager to make sure that people who are expediently seeking care, who don't want to relapse, can find that way to treatment? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Great Slave, Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that we heard loud and clear from many users of the service is that there used to be you needed a pre-approval just to be able to apply for this program. That has been removed. But what I would like to go back to is the expedient of the facility-based addiction program. There is a necessity, and I know that when people are ready to go, they might be ready today. There is a process still that can take, it can be up to, once you have a caseworker, can take 3 to 5 weeks to get into a facility. The reason why is that we have 6 facilities that we have contracts with, and those are the only contracts that we pay for. So we have 6 contracts outside of the territory, and there is an application process, there's an intake process, and so any community counselor can be, and Yellowknife Tree of Peace is an intake place, but what I would also like to share is this is not an immediate entrance into a facility, and I know when people are going through this, they're urgently wanting their family members to be put into somewhere. What we have gotten federal funding for is for detox beds. So if there is a need for detox, the process for that though would have to go through a practitioner, and we so if you're in a community, you may be referred to the hospital once you're ready or you're preparing to go for intake. Some of our facilities actually have the detox, so that would be something that the caseworker would work out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Health and Social Services. Final supplementary from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister also speak to what availability and communication of that availability of aftercare is available to folks who are coming back from treatment? I know that with some of the resources that are coming on in line in Yellowknife, which are fantastic, I'm so excited that we have those dedicated spaces. But what information can family members receive about making sure that their loved one is coming back and has a safe place to land? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Great Slave, Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, aftercare, this is one of the concerns that we do have a gap in, but what we do have the gap in is the living accommodations for those who go out to facility-based addiction treatment. If they're going from homelessness, then they're not coming back to home. So we are working on transitional housing after recovery program. We just recently announced that the one in Yellowknife will, and then we have one kind of be coming online in Inuvik. But aftercare is just the support. So there are some of the facility-based addiction treatments that continue online and virtual aftercare that once they leave. There's also our community counseling, or the caseworker that they worked with that helped them send them out can also be the person that can connect them with the aftercare counseling that they may need in the community that they're returning to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Health and Social Services. Oral questions. Member from the Sud-2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We in the NWT have a tremendous amount of needs. As I heard from my colleague there, Tunde Welland, they highlighted the benefits from the Jordan Principles Program and possible jeopardy. My questions are for the Premier on advocation. My first question is this question, or could the Premier explain why the Senior Envoy to the Government of Canada role was created and what is intended to achieve? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Satu, Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I appreciate the member's question. So there's been a lot of focus on the North over the past year and a half, focus like we've never seen before, I would say. There's also a new government in Ottawa. And so there's momentum right now. There's attention on the North. There's a desire to make investments in Canada, build up the strength of Canada, and take advantage of our natural resources. So there's momentum, and we need to keep that momentum going. We need to capitalize on that momentum. We need to keep the NWT at the front of people's minds in Ottawa. I think about the Council of Leaders trip that Cabinet took with Indigenous governments from across the territory. It was a great event. We went down there, and then we left. We made waves while we were there. Everyone knew we were coming. We had a number of ministers show up, but then we left. And then we didn't have that constant presence. And yes, we're up here, we're making phone calls, we're sending emails, but we need to take advantage of this moment and stay at the front of people's minds. Part of our job is educating Ottawa about the North. So having someone there who can actually speak to the different offices about what's going on in the North, keeping them up to date, and then sending back intel, that's going to be important. And so that's the rationale behind this office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. Member from Satu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Premier for that reply. Yes, I can understand the Indigenous government participation. Over 60%, Mr. Speaker, of our territory is underneath a modern treaty society. My second question is Indigenous government support is critical to our advocacy and engagement efforts in Ottawa. Could the Premier please describe the approach to include Indigenous governments in the federal engagement and how the envoy position will support these efforts? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from the Satu, Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think I know that trip to Ottawa with the Council of Leaders really highlighted the importance of having Indigenous voices at the table in Ottawa. We're a small territory. Authorities are dispersed among a number of different bodies and governments and boards. And we're not going to advance unless we work together to advance. And so it is absolutely critical to have Indigenous governments support their advocacy efforts in Ottawa. We all sink or swim together. If an Indigenous government is able to go to Ottawa, get support for something, bring money into the territory, that's a benefit for the territory. And when we were down there with Council of Leaders, there were some Indigenous governments, and we helped them set up meetings with federal officials, both elected and employees of the federal government, and have meetings. And in some instances, those chiefs had never had meetings with federal representatives before in Ottawa. They maybe didn't know how to navigate the system, didn't have the contacts for whatever reason. But we saw the value in that, and we want to ensure that we continue to support those efforts. So there's been a lot of positive feedback from Indigenous governments about the envoy position, and we've received formal and informal requests for support in Ottawa. So I think that this is going to be good not just for the government of the Northwest Territories, but for Indigenous governments as well, and I look forward to working with them and supporting their efforts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary, member from the Satu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Premier for that reply. Yes, I've talked to our Indigenous governments in my area. I appreciate that we are including Indigenous governments in this important work. And Mr. Speaker, I know this envoy position is relatively new, but could the Premier advise the House of any results from this new position? Thank you.
Satu, Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And yes, the position is new, and we're in a transition period in Ottawa where we had a federal election. Now we have a new government who are, trying to find out where their offices are. And so right now we are educating ourselves, strategizing, but yes, there have been successes. So the Endacho Healing Society, which is led by Roy and Jean Erasmus. You probably know them from the Dene Wellness Warriors. They recently announced that they received $7 million from the Government of Canada, and my office was supporting them through that. And that money is to support the development of a trauma healing lodge. Speaks directly to our mandate or the priorities of this assembly. And I will read from an article that was published in NNSL, written by Roy Erasmus. Quote, I want to acknowledge the support from the GNWT during our application, and more specifically, the recently announced senior envoy to the Government of Canada. His support, advice, and political advocacy for our project was essential, and we appreciate the Premier's commitment to providing this type of connector to Ottawa. And that's the type of feedback we're receiving from around the territory. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Premier. Oral questions. Member from Nunavut Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my member statement, I spoke about a building code for the North. I would like to ask the Minister, given the number of units that certainly we are planning on building through our Housing Corporation, as well as all the work that's being done with the Indigenous governments in my region and throughout the territory, can the Minister update me on update this House on the work that's being completed by the working group to date? Thank you.
From Nunavut Lake, Minister responsible for Housing and NWT. Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks for the question. Although the ministers have changed, the work is still continued, and we're going to continue on with the line of work that's being completed for developing and working on the national building codes for the structures. So that being said, I know we don't have the full implementation yet. However, we do have it in our projects when we send anything out to RFP or anything like that. It is to develop to the national building codes. So right now we're utilizing the 2020 National Building Codes and the 2020 National Fire Codes under the Fire Prevention Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Nunavut Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, and I appreciate that. I recognize that we still have guidelines that we do offer through the department. However, what we don't have is enforcement. Can the minister commit to, and I know the previous minister had a plan to have a plan. Can the minister commit to sharing that plan, work plan, once developed by the working group with the House, please? Thank you.
Member from Nunavut Lake, Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I will commit to that, and as soon as we have it done and ready, we will share that with the member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Infrastructure. Final supplementary. Member from Nunavut Lake.
Thank you. We're on the topic of commitments. We love commitments, and I certainly appreciate that.
Big commitment.
Can the minister, huge commitment. Can the minister please, would the minister commit then to, as this previous minister committed to, having this building code in place when we walk out of this building at the end of this 20th Assembly? Thank you.
Member from Nunavut Lake, Minister of Infrastructure.
The goal is to have all the policies developed by next summer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Infrastructure. Oral questions. Member from Moffley.
Massey, can the minister say what plans or energy initiatives the government has in place with the Klitschko government or get Klitschko communities off diesel power? Thank you.
Thank you, Member from Moffley. Minister responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, and supply chain.
Better than I could do, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. This is an area of tremendous importance. First and foremost, Mr. Speaker, any work that we're doing with or for the communities in Montfouille, we're doing in consultation and involvement with the Klitschko government. They really are leaders here in terms of where they want to see their communities go, and it's my hope that we can just be partners to them to help enable those visions to come true. There's a couple of major things, and I think, in fact, the member already mentioned them. One of them is the transmission line to Wati. This is a around 50-kilometer stretch which will connect the community into the Snare hydro system, and the hope and expectation is that it will be a project that goes to the partnership that built the Taser Highway, or the Klitschko Highway. That mainly is the Klitschko and Kiewit partnership. Beyond that, Mr. Speaker, that will work very well with a hydro project. If there is a Lac La Marche hydro project, this was many years now in the making, but we're bringing that back hopefully to life. We're going to see if we can bring that up and move it forward to a stronger feasibility and get that onto the system as well. It'll add in not only for Wati, it'll add in to the whole system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, and supply chain. Member from Moultrie.
Okay. Can the minister provide a status update on the Wati transmission line?
Thank you, member from Moultrie. Minister responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, and supply chain.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, happy to do so. The stage that we were at, Mr. Speaker, is we are negotiating. There is, of course, the infrastructure cooperation agreement with the Clecho government, and so we were working with them to negotiate the final stages of a design contract that may well even be signed by now, but certainly the last time I had checked in on it, we were at the final stages of that. That will go to design, and then from there we will be hopefully jointly going to help get some funding to see this project to its completion. Thank you.
Minister responsible for strategic. Thank you, Minister, for responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, supply chain. Member for Moultrie.
Mr. Speaker, women and girls are often overlooked and disrespected in terms of the trades. Will the work on the Wati transmission line lead to the creation of new JNWT jobs in the Clecho region? And if this is the case, what sort of positions would be tailored for young Indigenous female apprentices? Thank you.
Thank you, member for Moultrie. Minister responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, and supply chain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't have an answer here. What I would like to suggest is that I'm going to commit to get an answer and a proper answer. I think that's an exceptional question. Typically, when a project comes forward of this magnitude, there will be some analysis done about potential jobs that are created, and it would include an analysis under GBA Plus. It would include an analysis of whether or not there's a gender component to it in terms of who gets affected or who may benefit. So in the current cases, Mr. Speaker, I would suggest this is an exact time where I'll commit to bring back to the House further information so that we can, in fact, commit properly to making sure that the community is fully engaged and that every member and every resident in the Clecho region can see themselves reflected in this project. Thank you.
Minister responsible for strategic infrastructure, energy, and supply chains. Oral questions. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have questions for the Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. So last March, before the end of our last sitting, the Minister committed in this House with regard to the future of community learning centres, and I quote, "We're going to provide a critical path and the timeline, and we're going to do that by the May sitting, Mr. Speaker," which is a pretty quick turnaround, but it is an important item, and we're happy to make that commitment. So, can the Minister explain what is the status of this critical path and timeline that was promised with regard to the community learning centres? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Yellowknife North, Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we were all gearing up and packing up our computers to walk in here today, members would have received an email from me with a letter that outlined what that critical path and timeline is. And in addition to that, there is a deadline in the letter by which time I would appreciate feedback from committee so that we can further this conversation together. Thank you.
Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So my next question is, when will funding be confirmed for programs to be able to move forward? If they are to move forward, how soon can we confirm that and get things going? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yellowknife North, Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, within that critical path, there are some items that Education, Culture and Employment is able to fund from within through money that they retained through the MOU that they did have with Aurora College. And there are additional items that would require additional funding. Thank you.
Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. Final supplementary. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So how is the minister prioritizing continuity of access to programs such as the Literacy Outreach Centre in Yellowknife? In other words, when will staff and students know whether programs will be offered again this September? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yellowknife North. Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the letter that I've sent to committee outlines both a short-term response, acknowledging that adult learning is very important in communities, and then also longer-term conversation about solutions that would take us far beyond our short-term solutions. So, in terms of what that looks like, I am asking committee first to respond back to the letter so I can garner their thinking and their perspectives on this. Need to reach out to Indigenous governments to advise them of short-term and long-term solutions that we're looking at here. And then from there, we'll go out publicly and be able to share it with everybody. So I'm hoping that all of this can happen in short order and hoping that committee can also prioritize responding to the letter as well. Thank you.
Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. Oral questions. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the federal government is looking to build Canada into the world's leading hub for science and innovation. What opportunities does the Minister for ECE see for the NWT in that ambitious commitment? Thank you.
Member from Frame Lake. Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd say in everything that we've heard come out of the new Prime Minister, there is an undercurrent of an education foundation, whether we're talking about trade, whether we're talking about bolstering our economy or our production across Canada. All of that has an educational foundation to it, and a diverse expectation for our education system as well. In addition, Mr. Speaker, to infrastructure funding, we also heard about the importance of economic resilience, growth, and also supporting reconciliation, in the words from this new government and from our Prime Minister. So there are multiple ways that our post-secondary education system can support the federal mandate, and I very much look forward to having that same undercurrent in education in all of my conversations that happen next week. Thank you.
Education, Culture and Employment. Member from Frame Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister perfectly segued into my next question. I was going to ask, Mr. Speaker, how is education going to figure in our upcoming federal engagement, knowing that this change mandate has come about? How are we going to center our post-secondary education and education system in general in our negotiations with the federal government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Frame Lake. Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, certainly any time that we are writing to the federal government, speaking to the federal government on the phone, or having virtual conversations with ministers. I hosted a virtual FTP earlier today with a federal minister on the line, 2 federal ministers on the line. And so any of these opportunities are great for relationship building, and we carry those forward in conversations about post-secondary as well. Mr. Speaker, in addition to that, the Aurora College Board of Governors does have a deliverable mandate item that's found in the mandate agreement that is due in 2025, and that is their federal engagement strategy. And I have offered to support them in that any way that I can, including traveling with them to Ottawa. But a lot of our post-secondary institutions also have their own relationships with the federal government and have been very successful in garnering investment in the territory with their relationships. Thank you.
Education, Culture, Employment. Final supplementary. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I note that Aurora College has a newly appointed board chair. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the minister talking about the mandate. Mr. Speaker, how does the minister plan to work in concert with the new chair to promote post-secondary investment in our territory? Thank you.
Thank you. Member from Frame Lake. Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. So, Mr. Speaker, the new board chair and I do have a very close working relationship. We are only ever a text message away, and I can say are not shy to text one another often. We've already met multiple times since he assumed this role, and I very much appreciate his energetic drive and the vision that he brings to this role, and really look forward to working with him and the entire Board of Governors as we advance the mandate agreement for the transformation of Aurora College. Mr. Speaker, I can say that the board chair is not shy about forming their own relationships and has a long history of doing so, both in business and through their other involvement with different organizations. Thank you.
Education, culture, employment. Oral questions. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, small business owners in Range Lake are being hit hard by tariffs. I'm hearing some unfair costs as high as $80,000 that they didn't have to pay before. Some are even leaving their goods in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, hoping for a break if there's yet another arbitrary change in what's going on. So Range Lake businesses need financial support to offset the tariffs. Will the Minister commit funds, Minister of Industry, Tourism and Investment, commit funds to support Northern-owned and operated businesses as they navigate these changing trade relationships? Thank you.
Member from Range Lake, Minister of Industry, ITI.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at Industry, Tourism and Investment, we certainly believe in supporting Northern business, and we are very transparent about who we support in the territory. We have multiple different programs across the department, and we publish the contributions to business through our contributions agreements very, very transparently, and certainly happy to look for any form or mechanism that we continue to support business in a greater way in the territory. Thank you.
Minister of ITI. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you. I think the issue is not that we don't support businesses. I know we support businesses, but this is a very specific problem and challenge that they're meeting. The Yukon government has set aside $2 million for this. Will the minister bring forward an appropriation specifically to cushion Northern businesses who are paying additional costs due to tariffs? We've seen other jurisdictions do this. It's time we did it as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Range Lake, Minister of ITI.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at this point, we're certainly working with the business community, mostly through our chambers, to decipher any increases in costs that we're seeing to Northern businesses. We did recently see implications to our diamond industry for multiple reasons, one of which was tariffs. And certainly, Mr. Speaker, always happy to have the conversation, but I could never agree to that on the floor of the House because we have processes where I would need to, of course, have the support of all of Cabinet. It's not a one-person decision. Thank you.
ITI. Member from Range Lake.
Okay, thank you. So what can the minister do? If the minister can't commit to, because money is what's needed here, that's the support that's being asked for. That's the thing that's hurting bottom line, that's going to lead to job losses, businesses closing, all that. So what can the minister do to cushion the impact of tariffs? If it's not money, or how can we get to the point where we expend money? I'm trying to get to the point we need to help these businesses. That's an extraordinary amount of money, and I'm not hearing any solutions being offered today. Thank you.
Range Lake, Minister of ITI.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, certainly the GNWT has responded in the area that we have seen direct tariff impacts to business, which was to our diamond industry. And from there, Mr. Speaker, certainly we'll continue to work with our chambers to find out what data they have in order to show what the impact is to business, because I need the data to be able to decipher what our response, if at all, needs to be from the GNWT. And certainly when we're in Ottawa next week, I'll also be sitting with ministers responsible for internal trade, and we'll be able to have conversations in relation to tariffs and national responses as well. Thank you.
Minister of ITI. Oral questions. Member from Milne Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned in my member statement, we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to squeeze a couple extra questions in here through this process. Mr. Speaker, I was just simply gobsmacked when I heard that NGOs and community groups have to now get a health permit to have a barbecue. And, Mr. Speaker, could the minister maybe enlighten how this process came along and what are we fixing? Thank you.
Minister of Milne Centre. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe the only, within the legislation, but don't quote me because I don't have it in front of me, so I won't go into details. I know that there's traditional feasts that are exempted through this. Otherwise, I would have to get back to the member. There isn't apparently any changes that it is or it hasn't been enforced previously. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Services. Member from Illinois Centre.
Mr. Speaker, when I was speaking to this generous gift to the community, the purveyor of it, that is, Mr. Speaker, they told me that they were cornered at the Yellowknife Trade Show the week before when they were giving out popcorn to people in the community, and the health inspector cited, "Where's your hand wash station?" You know, and they went on this long list. Mr. Speaker, simply put, would the minister find a better way for us to work through these community generous gifts without turning them into permitting exercises? And by the way, the permit's free, which it's just an administrative loop and process. Thank you.
Senator, Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for bringing this to my attention today, as I am currently dealing with the traditional feast one. So I will add that to the list that I will follow up and bring, and if there's more that you want to discuss this, I'll be willing to have this conversation further if there's other things that we need to look into under this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Health and Social Services. Final supplementary. Member from Illinois Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the minister willing to work on this. I would ask in the context of urgency and zeal, because I mean it's burger season, you know. So I don't want anyone in trouble. That's why I would ask the minister to find a way to pull it back as reasonably as possible. And would she be willing to make sure that this is done sooner than later? Because we don't want generous gifts to the community penalized by kind people helping others. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Illinois Centre. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I will be having this conversation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Health and Social Services. Oral questions. Member from Mophie.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Indigenous women across the North are looking for meaningful action. The calls for justice from MMIWG are not optionals, they are obligations. Our women deserve real change, not just words. My questions are for the Minister of Executive and Indigenous Affairs relating to the implementation of the calls that specifically address safety, health, and rights of Indigenous women and girls. Can the minister state how many of the calls for justice relating specifically to Indigenous women and girls have been implemented by this government? Thank you.
Member from Mophie. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very important question, but very technical. I don't have that level of detail, but this is one where I'm more than happy to provide a written response back to this House and to the member, because I want to make sure that that information is getting out there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Premier. Member from Mophie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Can the minister explain how the department is actioning these calls? And then will the minister commit to tabling an update in this House? Thank you.
Member from Mophie. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm more than happy to table an update in this House. Thank you.
Mr. Premier. Final supplementary. Member from Mophie.
Okay, and he didn't answer the second question. Can the minister explain how the department is actioning these calls? Thank you.
Member from Mophie. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in other jurisdictions in Canada, the calls for justice are to highlight a segment of the population that is ignored often and underserved. Here in the Northwest Territories, we're an Indigenous territory, and the policies that we put in place when it comes to health and social services, to justice, they better be focused on addressing those calls for justice. That's always at the forefront of our mind when we're amending pieces of legislation right now to help address some of those issues. So everything we do, we keep that at the forefront of our mind. And if departments aren't, then we as ministers are doing what we can to ensure that they do. And then if we're not doing it, the MLAs need to ensure that they're holding us to task on this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have questions for the Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we've talked a lot about health care in this Assembly in the past sitting. Can the Minister talk to us about health care staff recruitment and retention? What has her department been doing and achieving with relation to bringing health care staff into the territory? Thank you.
Frame Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we in the last government set up what's called the Health Recruitment Unit. This is an entity that works in concert with a team lead from the Health Authority. So we have a human resource specialist and an authority specialist working together, specifically focused particularly on nurse recruitment. Mr. Speaker, they are seeing some significant outcomes and benefits. For example, we are now consolidating competitions, which means it's a much more efficient process. Rather than hiring individually, we can actually bring nurses into a competition for any and all available positions. Much more efficient this way, more targeted. But really the big thing, Mr. Speaker, if compared to last March to this March, we already are projecting to have boosted indeterminate staffing by 13.6%. So a significant number, and dropping the number of days it takes to turn around from the time of application to the time of making an offer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Framley.
Mr. Speaker, along a similar thread, I'm curious to hear from the Minister about our summer student hiring. What are our hiring numbers like? Is there anything that she has to deliver related to this, and how it might relate to healthcare as well? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member, new topic, member from Frame Lake. Oral questions. Member from Nunavut Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are for the Minister of Finance. I know the Indigenous procurement policy, it's in the consultation stage. I know they've been in Inuvik. I've talked to some business owners up there who have reached out to me with some questions around how that's going. I wonder, can the Minister of Finance give an update on how those the consultation process has been going and where they are in the procurement policy? Thank you.
From Nunavut Lake, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, member's quite correct. The Indigenous procurement policy is meant to be really the culmination and completion of a procurement review effort that began in the last government with a number of updates, a number of consolidations of our purposes and principles, modernizing and bringing all these things into a place that are more effective, having a dashboard, but having an Indigenous procurement policy, recognizing this is a jurisdiction with 50% Indigenous population, and a great many Indigenous businesses that we want to see flourish. So it's really looking at the public side of what we do and whether we can do better to reflect those businesses that we have. So that consultation process is happening right now. It began last month. It's going into this month. It will wrap up over the next month. I'll also be making some outreaches directly to Indigenous governments myself, in addition to the opportunities that they've had, they or their officials may have had. Still open, I believe, on the portal for feedback from folks, and would certainly like to hear. There's a number of different ways this could go. We need to find a way to define an Indigenous business and then find whether or not there are opportunities to better support them in the procurement processes so that we're really maximizing the dollars of the government for the people and residents of the Northwest Territories. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Nunavut Lake.
Speaker, thank the Minister, and certainly I support this important work. I live in a riding with two Indigenous governments, well-established, both with well-established development corporations. So my next question is there any consideration? I had originally thought that potentially, for example, Mr. Speaker, if there was $2 million worth of government contracting work to be done in my region, is there any appetite to, say, carve out 10, 20, 30, 50, whatever the percentage would be of that work, and then have that work then with qualified businesses within the Indigenous development corporations versus direct businesses? Is that been given any consideration? Thank you.
Nunavut Lake, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a second component of what's happening right now in the space, and that is led really by staff at Executive and Indigenous Affairs, is to have discussions with modern treaty holders, specifically to determine whether or not there are opportunities to create MOU arrangements so that there can be more formalized agreements as to how procurement might happen on the lands for modern treaty holders. That may well end up in something of the way that the member is describing. Obviously, it's premature for me to conclude what that would look like without knowing how those discussions go. On terms of public procurement, Mr. Speaker, there's a number of options we put forward, and one of them is to do work packages, so not necessarily region by region, but by project, that we could ensure that, particularly on a large projects, that there could be set aside amounts that we say, look, this is intended to be for a specific group or particular type of business, to ensure that we're, again, maximizing local capacity. And again, I encourage people to give us feedback if they think that would be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary, member from Moot Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to the Minister. I know there are, the whole purpose of this is to increase capacity in Indigenous employment in the regions, give opportunities for Indigenous businesses to grow. I'm wondering, and it's a question I've been asked, there's also some non-Indigenous ran businesses that employ many Indigenous employees in the region as well. They've asked, is there going to be any kind of opportunity in the new policy to account for that as well? Account for that to have, if and again, it's all about the teeth, right, Mr. Speaker? You got to be able to enforce it, just like we do with the business incentive policy. But is there any opportunity in the discussions on the new policy around that, the hiring of Indigenous people?
Moot Lake, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple things. Firstly is that, again, our existing procurement policies do, to the extent that we look at BIP and use BIP as a key tool, we are now enforcing through vendor performance management the opportunity to ensure that when someone says they're hiring Northerners and ultimately Indigenous Northerners, that we'll be monitoring that so that they do the things they say they're going to do. But secondarily, Mr. Speaker, I'd suggest folks take a look at the proposed definition around Indigenous business that we've put forward. It's really a question of saying, whether or not it's majority ownership, whether it's majority benefit in terms of economic benefit, is it majority control by Indigenous people, and should it be exclusively Indigenous people who are recognized members of Northern Indigenous nations? Should it be Indigenous peoples of Canada? Those are exactly the questions we're out to look at right now. The North is a place of, again, we have a lot of different cultures in different regions, and we're trying to do our best to see that we reflect that in this future definition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Finance. Oral questions. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So my questions are for the Minister of Finance. On May 7th of this year, the NWT Health Authority announced a new air ambulance contract with Access Air Ambulance. So that's a joint venture between Advanced Medical Solutions, Air Tindi, Aklak Air, Dayton and Tlisho Investment Corporation. And it was also mentioned in the press release that through the contract, Access Air Ambulance committed to achieve substantial levels of NWT content as per the business incentive policy. And a few days later, we saw in the news that Advanced Medical Solutions was actually taken over by a non-Northern based company. Can the Minister explain, in a situation like this, where a 10-year contract has just been awarded based on certain understood levels of Northern content, can a contract like this be reviewed if circumstances like this change around Northern content or ownership? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lake North, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to be in a position to speak to a specific procurement event here on the floor of the House. Certainly would be happy to find the details. We do, if there's a procurement event, obviously we are monitoring now to make sure that contracts are complied with and that commitments are complied with, whether it's to Northern hiring, Northern spends. That is part of vendor performance management now, and so certainly happy to make the commitment that we will do that. If there's fundamentals that have changed in a contract and they're not being met, again, that too can be something that may be dealt with, but probably wouldn't be dealt with here on the floor of the House. And so again, really making those assurances, again, that we want to hold people to the commitments that they make and hold them particularly to the commitments they make under BIP, without knowing in front of me whether or not, what commitments were made and whether or not they've been complied with. That's all I can say, is to assure that we will make the effort to do that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand we can't speak to details of any particular contract on the floor, but just in general in terms of the process or how it works. can the minister explain whether the department would be proactively checking and enforcing, Northern content and ownership, or whether it would be sort of reviewed on a complaints basis only? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leaf North, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So a couple of departments are involved. I can say that in terms of BIP component and whether or not a business complies and continues to comply with BIP, that is monitored regularly through folks at ITI. And whether or not and then on the procurement side, Mr. Speaker, obviously sometimes people like to suggest that we should move our procurement processes faster. One of the things we do try to do, of course, is to verify whether or not when someone is bidding on a contract that they are in fact providing information as necessary and as is required in order to ensure that we're satisfying ourselves that when they've made a bid that they do have the necessary information. And then beyond that, once they've done that, again, we've introduced vendor performance management so that those who have made certain commitments in their contracts do in fact actively achieve them, and that is monitored regularly by the project officers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the minister explain what would be the government's recourse if it found that a contractor was not living up to its commitments, under the BIP policy in this case? What would be the government's recourse, or what would be the process that would happen from there? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member from Yellowknife North, Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's a host of different opportunities or possibilities here too. And certainly could be anything from looking at whether or not there's been a breach of contract in a more extreme circumstance, and then that could then lead to a number of different potential outcomes. There's also certainly under our procurement policies the ability or possibility that someone can, in particularly egregious situations or repetitive situations, someone could actually be named or noted as being a non-responsible contractor, which could then lead to them having, being notified that they may not be permitted to make future bids. So again, depending on the severity and on where the error may arise, if they're, again, if they're not achieving the goals that they have when they're under vendor performance management, and we can see that, we've also introduced the ability for holdbacks, greater holdbacks in certain type of contracts, and they may not get their holdback if they're not, again, meeting their commitments. So depends a little bit on the circumstance and the type of contract, but there are a number of tools in the toolbox. Thank you.
Oral questions. Member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions today are for the Premier. As he may recall, in the last operational budget review, when we were speaking committee of the whole, I asked him about a functional communications review that was no longer on the business plans. He wrote back later to explain that yes, indeed, EIA is looking at a functional communications review in this fiscal year. However, I'm curious, Mr. Speaker, can the Premier speak to what the scope of that review will look like? Thank you.
Member from Great Slave. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the member has raised this before, and she's well aware that we have had a number of reviews, I guess, in the past number of years here. And so instead of doing another review, what's happening is we're looking at those reviews. The past 4 years, during COVID and the floods and the fires, there wasn't a lot of time for communicators to do that type of background work. They were out there trying to do their best to communicate with ever-changing information. So we're now looking at those those reviews, doing an analysis of them, and then trying to determine how do we implement the changes that make sense that are recommended. We're going to do that by, maybe I'll stop there because there's more to say, but I don't want to take all the members' questions.
Member from Great Slave.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Premier for that. If I might be so bold, Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the Premier would commit to how we communicate to the public and looking at that very specifically, because it's very clear to, I think, all members in this House that, with the after-action review, we are not doing a good job about communicating to the public appropriately and then the way they want to see communications come from government. I wonder if the Premier could speak to that.
Great Slave. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in 2023, we had a contractor to go out and engage the public and talk about how they feel that we communicate with them. And there were issues, obviously. even with things like the website, in normal times, most searches for government information starts on the website, and so we got a lot of feedback on that. And so we're going through a process of updating that website, and that means looking at all the content that's on there, tens of thousands of pieces of information, reviewing all of those, writing them in plain language as opposed to using jargon, writing for residents, not writing about government. And so we've heard that feedback, and we're going out and we're making those changes. Another valuable thing we're doing is going and talking to the communicators in the departments to get their perspective on things. They see what's happening, they see the issues, and so how do we work with them so that they can do their job better? And that means things like eliminating some of the administrative burdens that they're dealing with, making sure that they are engaged at appropriate points in the development of new initiatives. There's always an opportunity to communicate, and we need to make sure that our communicators are able to, we put them in positions to take advantage of those opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Our final supplementary, member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Premier for that. One more suggestion, if I may be so bold, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the Premier could speak to the fact that we have quite literally dozens of Facebook pages. As everyone in this House is aware, Cabin Radio acted as an aggregator during a public emergency. Will the Premier commit to, when they're updating the website, consider an aggregation of information of all departments? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Great Slave. Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so one of the things, speaking specifically about the website, reorganizing that website is one of the key things that we want to do. Group things by topics and themes that residents care about. So if they want to find something out, they just go to that topic. They don't have to try and figure out what department it's from and then go there. And in terms of the social media, I'm happy to get back to the member on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. Colleagues, the time for oral questions is up. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 7.27, I've received follow-up information for oral question 671-20(1). Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Clerk. Oral questions. Oral questions. Written questions. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a couple written questions that have been, and I should say thank you to the clerk's office for their assistance. Mr. Speaker, the first written question is staff turnovers and vacancy rates. My questions are for the Minister of Health and Social Services. Number one, what have been the annual turnover rates and vacancy rates for physician specialists, including orthopedic surgeons, in the Northwest Territories since January 2023? Two, break down the total vacancies by A, resignations, B, retirements, and C, unknown departures. 3, indicate the average time to recruit replacements. 4, indicate the number of positions budgeted against those actually filled annually. Mr. Speaker, I have another written question. It's called surgical wait times and backlogs. Can the Minister of Health and Social Services provide the following details with respect to the current wait list for surgeries and procedures between January 1, 2022 to May 30th, 2025? Please provide details based on the following years: the number of patients currently on the wait list, the average, number 2, the average wait times, number 3, the median wait times, number 4, the number of surgeries canceled or delayed in the past 24 months, and the reasons, and number 5, the breakdown of patients by community and age group. Mr. Speaker, I have some more written questions that have been touched up by hand edits. Mr. Speaker, the next question is surgical room strains and overcapacities. My questions are for the Minister of Health and Social Services. What are the monthly emergency rooms admission numbers for each hospital in the Northwest Territories between 2020 to 2024? Provide the number by breaking down A, community, B, age group, and C, number of visits resulting in admissions. Number 3, provide the average wait times to see each physician. Number 4, provide the instances of ER overcapacity or patient diversions. And number 5, A, describe how often a full complement is not met in the ER with respect to staffing levels. It's almost done. I believe that's 2 more. Mr. Speaker, the next question is regarding surgical wait times and backlog. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister of Health and Social Services provide the following detail with respect to the current wait list for surgeries and procedures between January 2, 2022? Oh, my apologies. I think I may be reading. My apologies. I already read that question. Mr. Speaker, strike that last piece. The last question I have, access to rehabilitation supports. That's my last written question. 1, can the Minister of Health and Social Services detail that what rehabilitation services were available to patients in recovery? And furthermore, what has been the patient experience from January 1, 2022 to May 30th, 2025? 2, list each of the rehabilitation therapy supports and by positions, which healthcare center include the staffing levels and of each. Number 3, what is the average vacancy rate of each position and providing rehabilitation services? Number 4, the average wait times between referrals and actual direct support through these services, brackets, i.e., a doctor refers on January 1, but the patient doesn't receive an appointment until September 23, equating to 265 days. That's what that means. Number 5, and lastly, how many positions provide services outside of where their position is located? List the positions. A, if they are in territory, how many days are they away from on average? B, if out of territory, how many days gone? Where do they go to, and what is the average cost? And lastly, if out of territory, 1, what is the average cost recovery? And 2, what is the financial loss or gain for providing these services provided on average? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Yellowknife Centre. Written questions? Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seek unanimous consent to return to item 6 on the order paper, recognition of visitors in the gallery. Thank you.
Range Lake. Member from Range Lake is seeking unanimous consent to go to item 6 on the orders of the day. Any nays? Seeing no nays, member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to recognize some firefighters in the audience. Justin, I'm going to say this wrong, Zarucha, Zach Landry, Foster Bartel, Mike Bessett, Caitlin Moffat, Taylor Clark, Tyler Gould, and my very favorite firefighter of all time, my dad, Terry Testarsh. And I'd also like to recognize my mom, Maureen Marshall. I'm not sure if I've recognized her before in the chamber, but it's always good to see you guys. And thank you for coming here as well. And if I missed any other firefighters in the audience, thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Mophie.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, dufits a tinaw Terry Testar goyo da masi wisi, which a kega hoda, egots ye firefighters. He must gisi gundeke sumbak a halagi denilene volunteer gintana it the ni alage dog asuna is a masi gisi.
Thank you, member from Mophie. Recognition of visitors gallery. Member from Hay River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too would also like to acknowledge the visitors in the gallery from the Illinois Fire Department, first responders, RCMP, and also Mr. Testart up there, who's also a MACA employee at times. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Hay River South. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from Tuna Day Willety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to recognize Mr. and Mrs. Testart. Thank you for being here. And I also like to thank all the firefighters that are here in the gallery, and thank you for your services. Merci.
Thank you, member from Tuna Day Willety. Recognition of visitors in gallery. Member from Nunatput.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize Mr. Terry Testart and his wife Maureen Marshall, former residents of the Nunatput riding and a mentor of mine with the Hamlet of Tuktoyaktuk. Also recognizing all the fire department members, all emergency responders. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, member from Nunatput. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Member from the Sawtooth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too would like to recognize the firefighters in the gallery here. Thank you for service and your safe comfort. Masi.
Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Recognition visitor gallery. Member from the Only Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't think you could say it enough. Thank you to the first responders up here in our gallery today. I also see some RCMP members, so I want to make sure that they are recognized, as well as the firefighters. These are callings and special people answer that call, so thank you and much appreciated. So to all of you, thank you. Lastly, but certainly not least, I wish to acknowledge the Testart Marshall family. Yesterday, I think I acknowledged my colleague's spouse for being the brilliance. I would also then we'll have to have a conversation later about some of his less shiningness and troublesome days. He helps be feisty here with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, member from the Only Centre. Recognition of visitors in gallery. Recognition of visitors in gallery. Where am I now? Returns of written questions. Returns of written questions. Replies to Commissioner's address. Replies to Commissioner's address. Petitions. Petitions. Review of committee on reports on committee on the review of bills, reports on the committee of review of bills, reports on standing and special committee, reports on standing and special committee, tabling of documents. Sorry, Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following 3 documents. Plain language summary for Bill 28, an act to amend the Student Financial Assistance Act number 2. Statement of consistency for Bill 28, an act to amend the Student Financial Assistance Act number 2. And Canada's Energy Regulators 2024-25 Annual Report of Activities under the Northwest Territories Oil and Gas Operations Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Education, Culture and Employment and ITI. Tabling documents, member from Health and Social Services.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following document, the 2025-2026 Health and Social Services Authority Budget Summary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Health and Social Services. Tabling of documents, Minister responsible for WSCC.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following document, Workers Advisors Office, Northwest Territory and Nunavut's Annual Report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Responsible WSCC. Tabling of documents, member from Range Lake.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the statement of consistency for the First Responders Workers' Compensation Amendment Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Range Lake. Tabling of documents. Colleagues, I wish to table preparing to change the Northwest Territories Legislative Assembly Reconciliation Action Plan 2025 to 2030. As well, pursuant to Section 5 of the Indemnities, Allowance, and Expenditures Regulations of the Legislative Assembly and the Executive Council Act, I wish to table the summary of members' absence for the period of February 5th, 2025 to May 30th, 2025. Tabling of documents, tabling of documents. Colleagues, tabling of documents. Member from Yelnley Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me. I have 2 documents I would like to table. The first document is a press release from ABINS, Community for Seniors, and it's the press release regarding the concerns about the articulated through their after-action reports. And of course, the second set back of the page is contact names where you can contact them directly for the actual report. So I'd like to table their press release. The second item I wish to table before the House today, Mr. Speaker, is a draft motion. It's called Remuneration of Essential Staff During an Evacuation. It's a motion, a draft motion for this House, so I'll be tabling that as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Yellowknife Centre. Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Colleagues, being cognitive of the time, we need to give our interpreters a bit of a break. We'll have a brief recess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I give notice that on Thursday, October 16th, 2025, I will move the following motion. Now, therefore, seconded by the honourable member from Tuna-Day, that the Legislative Assembly recommends that the Government of the Northwest Territories reimburse Avens $400,000, which is the portion of costs incurred from their assistance to the government during the 2023 wildfire evacuation, and it is not covered by the Federal Disaster Fund. And furthermore, that the Government of the Northwest Territories, in its response to the 2023 Wildfire Emergency Response After Action Review, provide guidelines on how to address remuneration of essential staff during the evacuation, particularly for non-governmental organizations, providing contract services to the Government of the Northwest Territories, and furthermore, that the Government of the Northwest Territories respond to this motion. We're already calling in with an answer. So, furthermore, that the government respond to this motion within 120 days. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Just wait a few seconds, folks. Member from Yellowknife Center, we need a correction. You need to give 2 days notice. You have Thursday, October 16th on your motion. You need to have it as Friday, October 17th, 2025. Can you please make the amendment, please?
Or just the upper
Just that first line, please and thank you.
Not a problem, Mr. Speaker. Not a problem. Mr. Speaker, I give notice that on Friday, October 17th, 2025, I'll move the motion already read earlier today. Is that correct? Thank you, sir.
From Yellowknife Center. Notice of motions. Notice of the motions. Notice of motions for first reading of bills. Notice of motions first reading of bills. First reading of bills. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to present to the House Bill 31, Supplementary Appropriation Act, Infrastructure Expenditures Number 1, 2025-2026, to be read for the first time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Finance. Pursuant to Rule 8.23, Bill 31 is deemed to have first reading and is ready for second reading. First reading of bills. First reading of bills. Second reading of bills. That's justice, right? Right, my notes are not as good as you normally have them. Second reading of bills. Minister of Education, Culture and Employment.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Hay River North, that Bill 28, an act to amend the Student Financial Assistance Act, Number 2, be read for the second time. The proposed an act to amend the Student Financial Assistance Act Number 2 would amend the Student Loan Fund, also called the Revolving Loan Limit, in the schedule of the Act from $45 million to $55 million. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Education, Culture and Employment. The motion is in order. To the principle of the bill. Question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention. Motion is carried. Bill 28 has been read a second time and is referred to a standing committee of the Assembly for further consideration. Second reading of bills. Member from Range Lake.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the member for Yellowknife Centre, that Bill 29, First Responders Workers' Compensation Amendment Act, be read for a second time. This bill proposes to make amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act that expands presumptive disease coverage for firefighter cancers and heart diseases, and creates new presumptive disease coverage for post-traumatic stress disorder cases affecting first responders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. The motion is ordered. To the principle of the bill. Member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first responders are the courageous men and women who go to work every day to put their lives on the line to keep us safe when we need it the most. This bill aims to create the most comprehensive workers' compensation coverage for firefighters in Canada by covering all types of cancer and heart disease. The bill also gets rid of latency periods for these diseases and makes the sole requirement employment for 2 years in a fire department. The bill also applies to full-time, part-time, and volunteer firefighters. The 24-hour requirement for presumptive coverage for cardiac arrest after an emergency response is also being eliminated. The NWT and Nunavut are the only jurisdictions in Canada that do not provide presumptive coverage for post-traumatic stress disorder for all first responders. This bill will change that if passed, making it easier for firefighters, nurses, police officers, paramedics, continuing care assistants, sheriffs, correction officers, emergency dispatch coordinators, and members of search and rescue organizations. Mr. Speaker, the origin of this was a simple conversation. I attended the Yellowknife Fire Department to learn about their Wounded Warriors announcement, where they would be working with that organization to provide support for first responders who were in crisis. We heard powerful stories that day. We've also, we live in this territory, we see these first responders every day, and we see their stories, we know them, and we certainly feel their loss when they are taken from us prematurely due to workplace illness that arises from their very difficult professions, or or mental illness, including PTSD, that comes from the tremendous strain they're under all the time. That conversation led to looking at this legislation and seeing how this Assembly could work to help them, to bring forward some comprehensive changes and catch up with the rest of Canada. Because as I said, for Nunavut and Northwest Territories are the only jurisdictions without PTSD coverage, and this has been asked for a period of time. But I'm not really interested in looking at the history of this. I'd like to move forward instead. The bill is before us now and proposes to do things that would make it world-class in terms of its ability to care for first responders in our communities. This is getting ahead of some other jurisdictions, especially in regard to firefighters that have made political commitments, but they haven't yet materialized as legislation. And I hope that this bill ultimately will pass. Of course, today we're just discussing sending it to a committee, but that this bill will eventually pass and will be an inspiration for other jurisdictions to do more for their first responders as well. Another thing that we've done some media on this and talked about it already. One oversight we made was we forgot about search and rescue workers, those who are members of search and rescue organizations. I've spoken to this House about those great individuals, whether they be volunteer or members of the armed forces or RCMP. Search and rescue is a really crucial function that is vital to safeguarding Northerners from very challenging circumstances when they do go missing in our vast and often unforgiving territory. And this bill will make sure that those folks are taken care of as well if PTSD is something they're struggling with. So I don't have many more comments than that. This bill is small but impactful, and I hope we can make a difference in people's lives. I don't want to see anyone come to harm or mental or physical or otherwise, but certainly when that does happen, we need to be there for our first responders, and that's exactly what this bill aims to do. And I have a personal connection to this. I used to be a first responder. I was a sheriff for several years. My father was a volunteer firefighter for close to 30 years, so this has always been part of my family. And I've seen how stressful and difficult it can be. And I want to make sure that we take care of our first responders as best we can. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I hope we'll hear other members step up and support the support initiative. And at the appropriate time, I would like to request a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Member from Hay River North, or South, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak to the second reading of Bill 29, First Responder Workers' Compensation Amendment Act, introduced by the member for Range Lake. On the onset, I want to express my deep respect and appreciation for the work of our first responders and firefighters. I know firsthand what this job entails and that these individuals and what these individuals face in traumatic events, dangerous conditions in their service, and in our communities. After all, this is something I've done for 30 years. Bill 29 proposes important amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act to establish presumptive coverage for post-traumatic stress disorder for all first responders, to expand presumptive cancer and heart disease coverage for firefighters. I acknowledge the appreciation and the intent behind this bill, and I want to thank the member for advancing this issue. As mentioned in my May 21st email to the member, this bill aligns with a broader discussion that has already started with Workers' Compensation Commission regarding the enhanced presumptive coverage for firefighters and first responders in both the Northwest Territories and Nunavut. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, direction was provided to the Workers' Compensation and Safety Commission to begin work on the legislative proposal to expand presumptive coverage for firefighters, including additional cancers, types of cancers, and PTSD. Also in 2023, the Nunavut minister responsible for the Workers' Compensation and Safety Commission expressed support for this work, highlighting our shared commitment and modernization for the workers' compensation system in both territories. Since then, the Workers' Compensation and Safety Commission has undertaken extensive research and completed an interjurisdictional review. As a result, a discussion paper is currently being finalized that outlines several policy options for expanding presumptive cancers and PTSD coverage. The intention is to engage with stakeholders in both territories during the summer and fall of 2025. This engagement will be critical to ensuring that any changes to the Act are informed, effective, and reflective of stakeholder inputs. It is important to note that while presumptive coverage streamlines access to benefits, PTSD and cancer diagnosis that are already presumptively covered can be and are often approved through the standard claims adjudication process. The proposed engagement will include options to expand cancer coverage for firefighters to include 9 additional types, which would bring the total to 23, making it the most comprehensive presumptive cancer coverage in the country. Similarly, 3 distinct policies options are being presented for presumptive PTSD coverage for firefighters and other first responders. Mr. Speaker, while we fully support the spirit of this bill, I must emphasize the importance of following legislative development process that supports our shared governance model with Nunavut. The Workers' Compensation and Safety Commission is a joint body serving both the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, with matching legislative frameworks. Careful and considered coordination to align our legislative projects is essential. For the legislative amendments to move forward, they must be approved by both cabinets before any drafting of bills can occur. This ensures the continued viability of our shared compensation system and an interjurisdictional partnership that is unique in Canada and a testament to our northern partners. Given the timing of the 2025 general election, Nunavut, it is anticipated that the final legislative proposal will be ready to advance in early 2026. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I thank the member from Range Lake for his advocacy on behalf of first responders. The work of this Assembly, in conjunction with the Workers' and Compensation Commission and our Nunavut partners, will help ensure we provide appropriate and modern protection for those who protect us. I look forward to ongoing discussions on this matter and continue to work that has already been started to ensure that the eventual legislation reflects both evidence-based policy and lived experiences of our first responders in our communities. With that said, although we support the bill, we will be abstaining from this vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Hayward South. To the principal bill, member from Nuvik-Boot Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from Range Lake for bringing this bill forward. Recently, Mr. Speaker, in Inuvik, we had a community feast held by the town of Inuvik for our first responders, the first of its kind in Inuvik, and it was a wonderful event, and obviously the firefighters were there as well, and I was honored to be able to speak and thank them on behalf of the residents of Inuvik-Boot Lake and certainly the community of Inuvik as well. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, I'm a bit of a poster child for first responders in the last 3 or 4 years, having had in need of our amazing fire department in Inuvik. And certainly the deep respect I have for what they do, Mr. Speaker, is, I can't put into words. Quite simply, they run into danger, Mr. Speaker, as we're running away from it, and that's really, I think, all you need to say. With that, Mr. Speaker, I agree with everything that the member from Range Lake had said, and I wholeheartedly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, member from Nuvik-Boot Lake. To the principal bill, member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think support for this bill is very, how do I put it? It's very easy to give, and so I don't have a lot to say to build upon what the member already said and what my colleague just said right now. Mr. Speaker, quite simply, as put to me by one of the firefighters I was just chatting with, dealing with a cancer diagnosis or PTSD, the last thing that you want or need to be dealing with is advocating for yourself with the WSCC, and that's primarily what this bill is looking at, is just taking that stress away from the situation and helping people focus on what really matters, on themselves, on their families, and on fighting illness. And so that's, I think, I deeply appreciate the member for Range Lake bringing this forward. I think I probably speak for many members in that as well, and appreciate the supportive comments from the minister as well. And I'm very happy to support this. This is a very personal one that touches home for me. Yeah, I look forward to voting in favor of this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Frame Lake. To the principal bill, to the principal of the bill, member from the Sawtooth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too will be supporting this bill, and I can't say enough for any more that has been said already by the previous speakers, other than to say thank you to the first responders. And we've had discussions earlier, and this will be applicable to the smaller communities and the volunteers that we have out there. They face many challenges, and I've seen that firsthand as well. And I want to say a huge thank you to the gallery crowd. Mussy.
Member from the Sawtooth. To the principal of the bill, member from Toonaday-Willity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to also thank the member from Range Lake for bringing this bill forward. This bill is very important to all communities in the Northwest Territories, in particular small communities. And we know the work that goes into this position and, of fighting the fires in the communities, etc. So, no, Mr. Speaker, I don't have an issue with supporting this bill, and I just want to thank all the frontline workers that are here today and throughout the Northwest Territories. Masicho.
Thank you, member from Toonaday-Willity. To the principal bill, member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do support moving forward with this bill. Certainly, it's a change that first responders have been pushing for many years. And I remember discussion about this back when I was a city councillor at the city of Yellowknife, as long as 10 years ago. So it's been a concern for a long time. We know that first responders, including paramedics and firefighters, are exposed to disturbing and dangerous and sometimes traumatic things on a daily basis that most of us can't even imagine facing. And we know that as a whole, this group of responders suffers from mental and physical health struggles at a much greater rate than the rest of us. And I think we know that both from statistics and trends and, at a personal level with some of the people that we know. So I certainly support making the NWT one of the leading jurisdictions in Canada with regard to our presumptive coverage and support. When first responders suffer from heart disease, any kind of cancer or post-traumatic stress disorder, I think these are all necessary changes, and we've been waiting for too long already. So I want to sincerely thank my colleagues for bringing this forward and for speeding up the timeline on this work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Yellowknife North. To the principal of the bill. Member from Yellowknife Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First off, I want to thank Union firefighter Chris Bitrolf for initiating this initiative, I guess I'll say it that way, by bringing it to my colleague from Range Lake. Once that dialogue got started, it was easy to understand how important this particular initiative is. We tend to forget and just maybe sometimes take certain industries for granted. And it's no one's fault, which is you always know they'll be there when you need them, but sometimes we have to ask ourselves, are we there when they need us? So, as we hear the fire or the alarms or the sirens go by, take that moment to pause for a second and say, is there ways that we could be there for folks who are in the first responders? Make no mistake, Mr. Speaker, first responders, that is a calling. I mean, I wish I could rise to that type of level. I acknowledge and say, tip my hat to anyone who does. It is a demanding career. And I find it interesting where people join the career when they're young or join when they're late because they've always had the passion to do so. And I admire the people who step up for something. Because the excess of challenges they face, the demands they face through any call, they know that these calls aren't literally struggling over a paper cut. These are calls that could go badly, terribly, and beyond. And then they have compounding effects that last not days, not weeks, months, years. And so this is an industry that people knowingly go into these careers, and I admire their strength to do so, that they step up and face. So when they're faced with challenges such as cancers, beyond the current list, or the concerns of PTSD, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing for them? Again, they're for us when we need them. The hesitation is not there. They fully throw themselves committed to the cause to be there. So we should be there to close the gap by enabling better coverage and step away from prescriptive coverage. Now, the public may not appreciate what prescriptive coverage is, Mr. Speaker, and I'll just basically say the old method is, or technically the current method is, if it's on the list, it's covered. But if it's not on the list, it's not covered. And that's where the burden starts. Where do we want our friends, our family members, our community heroes, our first responders fighting? We want them fighting for us, and I want to be fighting for them. And I know everybody in this House wants to be fighting for them. So by shifting to enabling coverage means we allow people to put their energies. God forbid, we've already heard about potentially one person, there may be more, who are struggling with cancer. I don't want their energy devoted to filling out forms, reading no's, going to get another doctor, saying another review. Is it covered? Can we link it? Like, it spends enormous amount of energy when you're faced with that Sisyphean task about trying to reach that point of finally someone saying yes. And sometimes people struggle, and the struggle takes over before the result, and it comes too late. And for those, that's why this coverage means a lot. That's why it means a lot to my colleague from Range Lake. We work together with our colleague from Tuna Day because it matters both in Yellowknife, the regions, and the communities, such as our good colleagues. This is drawing attention to sometimes a topic we don't want to talk about, but we should never be afraid of asking the question, how can we support these people in our community that support us in a stronger way? We need to draw these types of attention. Sometimes they're uncomfortable conversations. Our gallery today, Mr. Speaker, is proof that this bill means something to them. This is not getting them nicer T-shirts or a better wax on the fire truck, Mr. Speaker. This will change their lives. It may just mean emotionally, which means they know we're here for them. But for those few, unfortunate few, that need this extra coverage, this will change their lives. The fact that proves that the system is working for them. I won't wade in the conversation about how frustrating insurance can be. I mean, I'm sure that's not news to anybody in this building or anyone listening. But the fact is that we can do something here today, and we can demonstrate to this community of first responders that we will turn every stone over to ensure that they know they're appreciated, respected, and hopefully covered by the end of this process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from the Only Centre. To the principle of the bill. Member from Mophie.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I too would support this bill. You know, in the past, many of our people pass on due to cancer. It's been well documented. Many, work in unhealthy environment, especially in mine. And in small communities, we have only volunteer firefighters. And in the past, same thing with forest fire. But I know this bill is going to help with many of our volunteer force firefighters in small communities. So therefore, I do support, and I thank my colleague here for introducing this bill. Thank you.
From Mophie. To the principle of the bill. To the principle of the bill. To the principle of the bill. Question has been called. The member from Range Lake has asked for recorded vote. All those in favor, please stand. Vote. Sorry, member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we're quick to want to get this done. But Mr. Speaker, I just want one thing I want to do is recognize the Honourable Minister of Municipal and Community Affairs and his 30 years of firefighting service. And I want to reassure the public and folks in the gallery, folks on the floor as well, that he has been supportive 100% of the way. He has responded positively, in question period to emails. He's even sent me text messages saying, keep going. So he is fighting for firefighters, for first responders, and there should be no doubt in that. This is his passion, and his commitment really shines through. So I thank him for that, and I thank him for his supportive words today. On the question of process, the bill is intentionally designed to come in 1 year after the Nunavut election, which gives them time to review the changes and work with the commission to bring about similar legislative changes over there, even though we do have a shared jurisdiction, which started, of course, prior to division in 1999, and it has continued because it's a bigger pool of coverage for northern workers. We can still have our own regime that's separate from Nunavut. Not that that's intended. Again, we want everything to eventually come together seamlessly, but we also want to move quickly. And we've heard the frustrations, again, that this has been a time-consuming and long-awaited process. Again, I don't want to focus on the past. I want to move forward, but moving forward is passing this bill and getting that coverage in hopefully the fall of this year if the committee is able to endorse the bill going forward. And honestly, this is a perfect example of our consensus government working well to complement both the government's resources and the resources of regular members. We can often move more nimbly, more quickly to solve challenges than some of our processes. And that's not to disparage against them. I think there's been a huge body of research here. But we know these changes have been coming and that it's very important we make them. So I think this should be seen, and we're seeing more of this, quite frankly, in this assembly, that private members' bills are being used to solve these kind of challenges. So yes, to the principle, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm just going to conclude by saying structural fires are going down, but firefighter deaths are going up. That shows we do need to do something. We do need to expand coverage, and firefighters shouldn't be fighting for coverage when they get sick. They should be fighting cancer and heart disease instead, and first responders shouldn't be fighting for coverage when they're suffering from PTSD. This bill changes that, and I thank all my colleagues for that support. Thank you.
From Range Lake. To the principle of the bill. To the principle, question has been called. Member from Range Lake has asked for a recorded vote. All those in favor, please stand.
The member for Range Lake. The member for Inuvik Boot Lake. The member for Montfouille. The member for Frame Lake. The member for Great Slave. The member for Yellowknife North. The member for Tunide-Willide. The member for Satu. The member for Yellowknife Centre.
All those opposed, please stand. All those abstaining, please stand.
The member for Thabacha, the member for Yellowknife South, the member for Cam Lake, the member for Hay River North, the member for Hay River South, the member for Inuvik Twin Lakes, the member for Nunavut.
All those in favor, 9, opposed 0, abstention 7. Motion is carried. Bill 29 has been read a second time and is referred to a standing committee of the Assembly for further consideration. Glenn? Glenn? Second reading of bills. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Nunakput, that Bill 31, Supplementary Appropriation Act, Infrastructure Expenditures Number 1, 2025-2026 be read for the second time. This bill makes supplementary appropriations for infrastructure expenditures of the Government of the Northwest Territories for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To member or minister to the principle of the bill. Question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion has carried. The motion is carried. Bill 31 has been read a second time. Second reading of bills, second reading of bills. Third reading of bills, third reading of bills, Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Nunakput, that Bill 31, Supplementary Appropriation Act, Infrastructure Expenditures Number 1, 2025-2026 be read for the third time. Mr. Speaker, I would request a recorded vote.
Minister, to the principle of the bill. Member from Trinidad-Willity. To the principle of the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in the House here today to speak about the bill. And I don't know where to start, but the best way for me to talk about this is that I want to say small communities do matter. We got 33 communities in the Northwest Territories, and we all have our own needs and wants and ask of, and I got to work with our own Indigenous governments that are bringing their issues to me all the time. And I get calls every day, evenings, weekends, continue to advocate for them. Mr. Speaker, in the 19th Assembly, I came in through a by-election, and at that time I brought my wish list forward to this government. And I was told that the wish list for my Trinidad-Willity riding was that we're going to try to put your wish list on the train. But the train left 2 years earlier on a 4-year mandate. And it would appear that my wish list for my riding was put on a suitcase and they tried to throw it on the moving train, but it bounced off. And the issue there is that the issues of my riding at that time never was addressed in the 19th Assembly.
Please, you're not speaking to the bill. We're not talking about past experience. Please speak to the bill. Please and thank you. Member from Trinidad-Willity.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, to the bill, at this time, there's nothing there for my small communities from the 19th and 20th Assembly. I got a letter that I brought in with all my issues. 2 years in this mandate, I don't see anything there. And March of this year, I brought it up. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, at this point in time, I don't support this motion. Thank you.
From Trinidad-Willity to the principle of the bill. Or to the principle of the bill? Question has been called. Member from Yellowknife South has asked recorded vote. All those in favor, please stand.
the member for Yellowknife South, the member for Cam Lake, the member for Hay River North, the member for Hay River South, the member for Inuvik Twin Lakes, the member for Nunavut, the member for Sahtu, the member for Inuvik Boot Lake, the member for Montfouille, the member for Frame Lake, the member for Great Slave, the member for Yellowknife North, the member for Thabacha.
Thank you. All those opposed, please stand.
The member for Tuniday Willowday, the member for Yellowknife Centre, the member for Range Lake.
All those abstaining, please stand. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? 13, opposed 3, abstentions 0. Motion is carried. Bill 31 has had its third reading. Thank you. Third reading of bills. Third reading of bills. Clerk, can you please determine whether the Commissioner of the Northwest Territories, the Honourable Gerald Kissoon, is prepared to enter the chambers and assent to the bills?
Please be seated. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, Premier Simpson, ministers, members of the Legislative Assembly and staff, and visitors in the public gallery. Hakana Inuit, Gwyn Gwynzi, Shakwichin Kat, welcome. I wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather are treaty lands and the home to many Indigenous peoples, including the Akechu Dene, Clicho, and Métis. We are grateful to be on this land. As we enjoy these warmer months, I would like to wish each of you a safe, healthy, and happy summer as you take your break and enjoy quality time with your families. Please travel safely on the land, on our waters, in the air, and on our highways as you continue working for the betterment of all Northerners. Encourage and remind your families, friends, and people in your communities to be safe out on the land and to wear personal flotation devices, PFDs, when traveling by boat on our waterways. As the sitting comes to a close, I wish the members of this House good health and happiness as you enjoy the summer and continue work in your constituencies. Now, as Commissioner of the Northwest Territories, I am pleased to assent to the following bills. Bill 17, Municipal and Community Affairs Statute Amendment Act. Bill 18, an act to amend the Partnership and Business Names Act. Bill 30, Supplementary Appropriation Act, Operations Expenditures and Borrowing Authorization, number 1, 2025-2026. Bill 31, Supplementary Appropriation Act, Infrastructure Expenditures, number 1, 2025-2026. Masicho, thank you. Kuinaini ha'ai, merci beaucoup, Juana.
Colleagues, I'd like to thank the Commissioner, the Honourable Gerald Kassoun, for joining us here today to assent to our legislation. It is always a pleasure to have him join us in this chamber. Thank you, Commissioner. Members, please join me to thank everybody that makes it possible to do our jobs here. We have and rely on a wonderful team of public servants and supporters. I want to let them know that we appreciate all they do for us. Our staff do everything from keeping the building open and operating safely to ensure that we are seen and heard on television, computers, and radios across the territories to provide research and procedural advice. As always, a special thank you to our interpreters and our pages. They remind us of where we came from and where we are going. I want to thank our interpreters for their participation in our elders' hours. Their presence helps ground us then when passion or politics take things too far. Colleagues, this House is not scheduled to sit again until October. I know you will be hard at work during these months ahead. Use this time to reconnect with people in your communities. Returning this fall with respectful, engaged debate and some hard work. Our territory faces great challenges. It is our job to rise to these challenges. Thank you, colleagues. Now let's go home to our friends and families. Don't forget to let them know how much we support and encouragement matters to you. Mr. Clerk, orders of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Orders of the day for Thursday, October 16th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Prayer reflection, minister statements, member statements, motions, returns to oral questions 666-20 bracket 1, recognition of visitors in the gallery, acknowledgements, oral questions, returns to written questions, replies to the Commissioner's address, petitions, reports of committees on the review of bills, reports of standing and special committees, tabling of documents, notices of motion for first reading of bills, second reading of bills, consideration in committee of the whole of bills and other matters, report of committee of the whole, third reading of bills, orders of the day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This House stands adjourned until Thursday, October 16th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m.